Hey everybody, this is Perch. I commented on this Starfire's Daughter YA novel, and I made the point that I don't know who's buying this. Nobody's buying this. The numbers for these things are abysmal, and it's again it's there's kind of two problems I have with the book, which are not the two problems that I hear on a lot of other channels they're going in on this. But problem number one is it's not unique. Like this story feels like it was carbon copied from roughly 8 million other stories that are exactly the same. In reading the solicitation, you get exhausted because you've heard this story before. I could go into a bookstore and blindly just kind of move my hand around the YA novel area and grab 10 books that have the exact same plot. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, like, who's given this writer money? And are there going to be lawsuits for plagiarism or because they're not unique. And the second problem I have is that it's not doing anything for the source property to the point that, like, why are you bothering with the source property in the first place? I mean, what value does Starfire have in this whole thing? Like, what is the point of having this? The story that we want to tell is, hey, there's a girl and she's gay and she's in the shadow of her mom who's super popular and sexy and cool, and she is, fat and awkward, and she has a crush on a cheerleader, but she's way out of her league. And then, oh, what do you know, the cheerleader likes her. Hooray! Why bother connecting Starfire into that? And so I got a note back from, let's just say, somebody well positioned in the company, and they said, you're not getting it. You can have existing Starfire and you can have new Starfire. You don't have to make everything the same. And I read that like 5 times, and I go, first off, of course you can have existing Starfire. You can have 8 different versions of this character running around the DC universe. You can do whatever you want. You're the publisher. The question isn't can you do it, it's should you do it. Can you do it? Of course you can do it. Can there be multiple versions of this character? Sure. Have there been multiple versions of this character running around in the past? Absolutely. When they did the New 52, we got a very different version of Starfire. We have new writers come in and they do their own take on things. Happens all the time. But why would you? Why do it? It's not that you can't. It's that there's no point to it. Here's the argument was, again, this person is writing said, look, this is going to be not for your traditional comic buying audience. So it doesn't have to adhere to the way you or I know Starfire is. And if that is true, and let's just assume for the moment that's completely true. Yeah, this is not going to be bought by people who go to the comic shop. This is not going to be bought by fans of the new Teen Titans who are anxious to see Starfire. Hell, this isn't even going to be bought by fans of the Titans show on HBO Max. It's not going to be bought by any of those people. This is a completely new reimagining of the character. The audience that's going to buy this probably doesn't even know Starfire exists. Or maybe they have some vague, recollection that there's this character on a Teen Titans cartoon they watched when they were younger. I don't know. If that's the case, then again I go back to what's the point of including Starfire at all? It just becomes a liability. Like, why hook into this character that has all this extra baggage if you're trying to appeal to an audience that doesn't know the character exists, doesn't have any knowledge of that character? It's only going to be confusing and frustrating to them. So let's take the same story for just a moment. And rather than have it be Starfire's daughter, have it be attractive model daughter is gay and awkward and fat and it has a crush on the cheerleader. Does the Starfire aspect matter in the slightest? I haven't seen this book, so who knows? Maybe our goth daughter has superpowers that she got from her mother. Okay, I mean, you could have just generic alien there. You don't need this stuff. And I would argue that by inserting Starfire into it, it's all negative. There's no positive you get out of this. You don't get the benefit of an existing audience who's like, oh yeah, this is what I want to see. You don't get the benefit of marketing for this character because it's a completely reimagined version. And for that matter, it's a daughter. It's not even the main character. The focus of this book's on the daughter. So now when you're trying to sell this, you're trying to sell this as, hey, there's a character and she's a superhero and she's super attractive and popular, but this is the story about her awkward gay goth daughter. Um, the whole Starfire aspect of this is a complete negative to anything, to a new audience, to an old audience, to trying to explain what the hell the book is, to any part of it. There's no benefit to having this character in here, other than the author wanted to tell a story that roughly 500 other people have told before, and the unique hook is that they vaguely tied it into the DC universe for reasons that are unclear. That's the only benefit I can see, is to avoid calls of plagiarism. Literally, that's it. Because otherwise, you're having to answer questions you don't really want to answer or need to answer about what's going on with the character. If it is appealing, this to my comment back to the folk at DC, if you're appealing to a brand new audience, then why do you want to have to explain who the hell Starfire is, where you can make your job a hell of a lot easier by just saying, this super hot model, this super hot actress, this super hot alien woman, or this super hot random superhero that you've never heard of is just hanging out there. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, for the new readers who are coming to have a vague recollection of Starfire from the Teen Titans cartoon, like, if they're coming in from that angle and that's any kind of plus to the book, then all you're doing is irritating them because you're giving them a version of the character is nothing like what they know. You're not telling a story of that character. You're telling some completely different story, and it's just like there's no upside here to doing this. Um, I don't get it. It's a very weird strategy, and I know that there's definitely some people on my channel, and they made good cases. They present themselves well, and I always appreciate them being solid. They're not coming in here and just screaming names and any of the rest. They're defending kind of what they like, and I think that's awesome, and I'm glad they do, and it's good. But the whole these dramatic reimaginings of current characters, current DC, current Marvel characters, to appeal to a wide audience who doesn't know these characters exist, is a really weird strategy that has no provable benefit or upside in the slightest. There's no value. I get a little bit if you want to do a story about Superman or Batman or some character brand that's so ubiquitous that everybody knows they exist. But when you start getting into like Mara or Beast Boy or this kind of stuff, like now you're into characters that nobody knows. And so reimagining them has no point to it. You're not getting the benefit of those characters in brand, and you're not even getting the appeal of somebody who's curious to see what you're doing with some of their favorite characters. At that point, just do new. Like I, I don't know that I'm not explaining any of this well. My point is, if somebody's coming into this comic and they're like, "Hey, I've heard of Superman. I'm curious what you do with Superman." And then you have Superman and you decide to so radically change Superman that it bears zero resemblance to any other Superman that's ever been described before, then we have, again, we have numbers, we have proof that doesn't work for an audience. People turn away from that. And your goal is to sell books, isn't it? I know, and there will be some people in the comments who want to talk again about how these people don't want to sell books, and it's all just kind of a big conspiracy to waste people's money and all the rest. But at the end of the day, you do need to make a profit, or you don't stay in business. I that opens up a whole other ball of worms. I don't know. This whole thing is bizarre because it is an interesting marketing approach that on the surface you can see fails, and I think it calls into question why we're reimagining all this stuff in the first place and what goal we're trying to get out of it. Because it doesn't sell, it doesn't stick, and it doesn't help get your new audience. It doesn't make your old audience excited. It really works for nobody. And again, I mean, silly as it sounds, the only thing I can think of that is actually a plus in all this is that it will be harder for somebody to sue you for plagiarism for stealing somebody else's idea because you've been able to insert some DC brand IP into it. But because, I mean, that's the saddest part of all this. In all the reimagining of this character and all the radical new stuff you're trying to do, um, you're telling the same story that dozens and dozens of other people are telling. You're not even telling something unique. That to me blows my mind. Anyway, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. It's all very exhausting. Thanks for listening.